In the dim glow of a sterile containment unit, a gaunt dragon lay motionless, its copper scales dulled by time. The man approaching, voice hoarse from years of longing, whispered a name lost to the ages. Ember. The facility's staff stood silent, as if sound might shatter the moment. No tail flicked, no eyes gleamed, only a stillness that seemed to question the man's presence. Yet, as hope teetered on the edge of doubt, a faint twitch of the dragon's ear sparked a flicker of light in the man's weary eyes. 17 years earlier, Douglas McGreedy piloted his waste collection vessel through the dusty paths of Settlement Alpha 7. Old Earth tunes filled his earbuds, his soul heavy but steadfast. Known to many in the colony, he was a man of few words, his life shaped by routine. 30 years of hauling synthetic waste under the scent of heated polymer. Retirement brought no solace, only a void. So he left the settlement, selling his possessions to seek solitude in Outpost Serenity, a terraforming village where silence still lingered. One dusk, on a winding dirt path, Douglas spotted a heap near the xenoforest's edge. He stopped his hovercar, drawn by instinct. There, a frail hatchling with uneven wings and burnished scales struggled to breathe. One eye met his, resolute despite its weakness, tail flicking faintly as if to say, "I'm still here." Without hesitation, Douglas opened his passenger door. The dragon, barely able to move, climbed in. Thus began their bond. He named it Ember, a name that slipped out while stirring coffee, rooted in half-remembered Earth legends. The scrawny creature became his companion, his purpose. At night, Douglas would sit in his armchair, thermal blanket over his feet, clicking his tongue twice and tapping his knee. Ember would shuffle over, sighing deeply as he curled beside him, as if that spot was his universe's center. Their routine grew from habit into love. No words needed, just presence. Ember learned Douglas's rhythms, his steps, his silences, his work, installing fuel cells or fetching supplies. The dragon's quiet intelligence shone, not in showy displays but in steady loyalty. Then came the evening that broke their world. Douglas stepped out for a quick errand, returning to find the gate ajar, Ember gone. He called, whistled, searched the yard, nothing. The rust-tinged sky swallowed his hope as absence settled in his chest. A neighbor, Teller, brought grim news. He'd seen Ember, reluctant and scared, taken by a man in a white shuttle with off-world plates. They thought he was lost, Teller said, voice trailing off. Douglas knew the law, Regulation 17 banned unregistered xeno-companions, but his papers were in order. Enforcement didn't care. They saw a dragon and acted. Days blurred into a silent hunt. Douglas printed Ember's photo on recycled polymer, taping posters across markets, refueling stations, and depots. "May I leave this here?" he'd ask, his nod heavy with hope. Some pitied him, others pointed to empty walls. He handed flyers to drivers, children, anyone who might carry his plea. He walked cultivation barriers, reservoirs, and dark trails, whispering Ember like a prayer. But the trail vanished in the mud. Unknown to Douglas, Ember had been taken to a new home by a man who meant well but didn't understand. The dragon refused food, staring toward the road, longing for Douglas's familiar scent. On the third night, he slipped through a loose gate, running toward a home he could no longer find. He crossed fences, rails, and empty plots, collapsing far from familiarity. Ember survived, cautious and alert, sleeping near warm engines, dodging predators, always searching. Douglas's home froze in time. Ember's basket sat untouched, the water bowl refilled daily, old songs playing to mask the silence. He never stopped searching, even as posters faded and pitying glances urged him to move on. Every distant roar quickened his pulse, every loose dragon drew his gaze. The outpost moved forward, new processors, concrete benches, but Douglas and Ember remained tethered to their loss. Years piled on, slow and cruel. Douglas's steps grew heavier, his hands trembled, his mornings slower. The outpost changed, faces forgot him. Yet he kept Ember's memory alive, tapping the aluminum bowl absently as he once did to call him. Sundays grew quieter, the porch hammock still. He didn't expect a reunion but couldn't say goodbye. Then, chance intervened. Scrolling his commune, Douglas stumbled on a shelter's post. Among sad-eyed dragons, one image stopped him. A tired creature, scales tangled, eyes downcast. The caption read, "Rescued, frightened, needs time." His heart skipped. He enlarged the photo, tracing familiar traits. Without pause, he copied the shelter's number, checking it obsessively through a sleepless night. The next morning, dressed in his best shirt, Douglas rode to the shelter. The world seemed to slow, each tree and stop a question. At the gate, a young woman greeted him. He showed the photo. "I'd like to see this dragon," he said. She led him down a dirt corridor, past roaring enclosures to a huddled figure. "Ember," Douglas called, voice barely audible. No response. The woman's regretful look softened, but then, a faint ear twitch, a tail flick. Douglas leaned closer, fingers on the barrier. "Ember, it's me, son." The dragon turned, eyes cloudy with abandonment, blinking in recognition. He rose, slow and unsure, pressing his snout to Douglas's hand. No leaps, no roars, just a quiet reunion, heavy with shared pain. The woman, used to such moments, felt her throat tighten. Something deeper than joy passed between them. Douglas signed the papers, hands shaking, and led Ember home on a simple leash. On the transport, Ember lay at his feet, trembling but close. At the outpost, golden light bathed the house. "You can enter," Douglas said, and Ember crossed the threshold, sniffing every corner as if reclaiming himself. That night, Douglas set blankets near the heater, left porridge untouched. Ember stayed near, eyes half open. Instinctively, Douglas clicked his tongue twice, tapped his knee. Ember rose, limping to the armchair, leaning against him as before. "It's really you," Douglas whispered, doubt dissolving. Days followed with gentle gestures. Warmed food, slow pets, open doors. Ember began to trust, first with glances, then steps. One morning, Douglas found him sleeping by the armchair, leash-free, at peace. Neither fully recovered. Ember's agility was gone, Douglas's stride weakened, but their routine rebuilt what time had stolen. They shared quiet days, needing no proof of their bond. To new neighbors, Douglas was just the old man with the ancient-eyed dragon. But those who knew saw something profound in their steps, as if time had made peace. Guilt lingered, memories of that open gate. But waking to Ember's presence eased it. At the shelter, a technician noted Ember's Orus 4 breed, meant for ice planets, not companionship. 17 years? She marveled. Douglas nodded. He was home, then he wasn't. Now he is. She warned of new regulations, Class 4 dragons facing surrender. Douglas's gaze held firm. "We'll cross that bridge." She smiled, logging Ember as a Class 3 companion, her fingers defying the system's cold logic. Under the outpost's 3 moons, Douglas laughed for the first time since Ember's loss. Not at anything, just the miracle of their reunion. "We've got catching up to do," he told Ember, who rumbled softly, head tilted. Douglas mused, "I cursed time, but it kept you alive, kept me searching. Now we've got time again. Not much, but enough." In the quiet, man and dragon sat. 2 souls from different worlds who defied a universe to find each other. Regulations, distance, and time had tried to sever them, but some bonds, forged in clicks, taps, and silent trust, were unbreakable. For Douglas, that was enough.